So what is angle of elevation? So angle of elevation is always going to be measured. Think about it this way. If you're looking straight ahead, that's what we call our 0 degrees, or our horizontal, right? So horizontal. And you always want to start that way, because if you're looking up or slightly down, then we're not looking at it at 0 degrees, or we're not looking at it straight ahead, right? And so let's say we have a lighthouse here, and you want to know what the angle of elevation. Well, the angle of elevation would be considered the degree that you had to turn your head up or tilt your head up to get to the top, or to look at the top of that lighthouse, right? And so the amount of degrees that you had to tilt your head, that is what we call your angle of elevation. Now you have to be careful. Some people do get that confused with the angle of elevation being here, which is not correct. Okay, this is not the right angle of elevation. Okay, so angle of elevation is always going to start. So we'll do this. Angle of elevation. We'll say it's equal going to be horizontal, and then you're gonna have to look up, right? And so that's, hopefully that tells us that this is the angle that's always gonna be created. So how does that differ from angle of depression? So angle of depression is similar to angle of elevation. The only difference is now, think about it this way: someone up high, right? So let's say this lifeguard is looking straight. That is his line of 0 degrees. That's his horizontal. So if he's looking down at a swimmer, he's going to start by looking straight ahead, right? Not tilting up, not tilting down, straight ahead. And the degree that he has to turn his head down is what we call the angle of depression, right? So his eyesight, however much it took to look down at the swimmer, that is what we call the angle of elevation. And once again, do not confuse it with this, because if you think about it, if you're trying to call this the angle of elevation, which is not correct, by the way, you're gonna have to be staring straight down, right? And then kind of look up. But that's not how it works. We start by staring straight ahead and then tilt our head down, right? So here we can say angle of depression is going to equal, once again, we'll call it horizontal, and then you're going to have to tilt your head down, right? It's never going to be down, up, or it's going to be horizontal, down. You're always going to start horizontally. So it's either going to be horizontal down or horizontal up, okay? Now, here's a good thing, or here's a cool thing about angle of depression and angle of elevation. If we have this as my horizontal, and we know it's at 0 degrees, and if this is my other horizontal, and that's also at 0 degrees, then they are parallel, right? So that means that we have what we call angle pairs. So this angle here is my angle of depression, and this angle here is my angle of elevation. And the reason for that is because if you look straight ahead and look up, that's what creates my angle of elevation. If we're looking straight ahead and look down, that's my angle of depression, right? But because they are two congruent angles, because they're alternate interior angles of parallel lines, then technically I can essentially recreate two triangles here, right? So that's one triangle, and here's my second triangle. And if I make sure that that's a 90-degree angle and that's a 90-degree angle, then what I know about the angle of elevation and angle of depression is that they're exactly the same. So here my theta, or my angle of elevation, is going to equal my angle of depression. Okay, but understand that under no circumstances I am never going to call this an angle of depression, right? That is not correct. And under no circumstances am I calling this an angle of elevation. Again, the reason for that is because if you were to do this, right, then for angle of depression, if you were to call this angle of depression, then you would have to look straight down and then look up, right? Same thing here. and it's not going to work that way.